Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. These are the cohort presentations of teachers, and our attempt has been through the fellowship as well for them to look at the archive and see how they can take material from there into the classroom. So the mandate was they design something from an archival object that is either a classroom activity or a set of questions that they can pose to an object that either themselves or teachers who look at this module and activity will be able to use. So they'll take you through the work they have done, the collection that they've been interested in and the questions they've asked that collection, and I let them talk to this. We'll start with Shreya, who will introduce herself, her work a little bit and the object that she worked with. Okay.
Hi, so this is a working draft, and I've shared with some of you already the document, so feedback would be more than welcome, of course, and any kind of input, and I think there are some places I'll point out where the archives team could perhaps pitch in to make it better. So I just want to begin with the object that I chose. I've chosen two, but primarily one, which was this, in the Chandita Mukherjee collection, there was a 3 months newspaper clippings collected in '98 called Women Workers in India, and that's the object I chose. Now the reason I chose that was because I think the children I had in mind when I'm designing this were my children who are at the middle school level. But what I've designed can also be used for high school and perhaps even for a couple of years at the beginning of undergraduate, depending on whatever level we pitch the questions at. So the reason I chose this, but it's the context that they come from, which is Gurgaon, which is the industrial area of Raipur, and it's surrounded by small and medium scale factories. And all of our children, all their mothers are workers in either these factories or as informal labor in the Philippines. And we've also done work in the past related to women's work. So I think one of the first things as a teacher that we need to decide is whether there is meaning in what we are doing, and children see meaning and purpose in it. And I think that's why primarily I chose this, because there would be a sense of purpose to it. This image you see, this is a drawing that was done by one of our students when she was in class 4 or 5, where her dream house was next to a Nadda company. We released a book based on that also, and her logic was because then her mother won't have to look elsewhere, the company is hers and she would manage it. So I'm just giving you a couple of glimpses as to the work done to give you a context. This is an interview that we did with one of the children did with one of their parents about a loan she had taken for from a small microfinance Janalakshmi kind of yojana, and how the loan sharks were after her and things like that. And then they wrote this article when they were much younger on debt, and there are some things within this collection on debt, so it made sense to do. This is the object. So yeah, so and this to say that when we use an archive, what are the things that can come out of it? I was hoping that one could be also some kind of creative writing, a possibility for historical fiction in a sense. And this is a story where we did a series on work, where children interviewed many people from the Basti, many including their parents, and one of the people was Durga Didi, who was, she does istri, ironing. And so when she falls sick, the children had very poignant reflections on it also. When she falls sick, she still has to work, and how her right hand really started to hurt, and so she learned to work with her left hand. And so this young girl has illustrated this as Do Haath Wali Durga Didi. She made a story of it. So what are the possibilities we had? And older students who did a video series on work and women, which you can access here. How I've structured the module is, I won't go to call it a module, but whatever, the document is such, where I have some notes for on an archive for teachers, in which I would greatly appreciate inputs from both the teachers and the archives team. And then, because I think we need enabling activities in order to introduce an archive. You can't just do it. There has to be both purpose and readiness. And so there's that. And then there is working with an archival object, two different that I've chosen. One is this Women Workers in India. So there's exercises to introduce it, then using it, sample questions based on chosen clippings and project work, short-term projects and longer-term projects. So just to give a taste of possibilities of what can be done in a classroom. This is in no way prescriptive, and obviously no teacher has to follow all of it. They can pick and choose and form a trajectory through this for their classrooms depending on their students. The second is something from the Leslie Coleman collection, which I'll share. And lastly, there's a reflection. So some of the things I've mentioned in What is an Archive is that in some senses it's a treasure trove with clues, but also highlight the fact that it is something that also is used to maintain and wield power, but can also challenge it. And by that we mean, who preserves what? Who decides? What are the stories we tell? Whose things get preserved and whose don't? So in the introduction we've written a little about, I think we all have archives even in our homes, but for which personal collections make it to National Archives is a question of like which stories actually get chosen to be told and which get marginalized. And I think these are discussions we need to have with teachers when we talk about the archive. So the archive also is something dynamically changing. The person who is archiving is also actively contributing to that thing. When you choose to reject something, you are contributing to how that story gets told, or choose to keep something. So it's this constant conversation. But why this is important is because each of these encounters is a point in knowledge production. I think Kalyani spoke about that today as well. And when we say knowledge production, I think what I'm trying to do with this is why should we bring archives into our classroom? I think one of the primary things for me is because school often tends to be a place of knowledge transfer. I think Hamsini, Hadia, everyone spoke about this today. Right? You just read the textbook, it's there, it's ready. But can it be a site of knowledge production where teachers and students themselves are also producing knowledge? And I think one of the best ways, and not best, but most meaningful and creative ways could be through an archive, because that really gives you a sense of how knowledge is produced. Through little clues, you've wandered around some place and someone has gone and written a biography. How does that happen, right? So when you see the practice of doing and writing history and producing knowledge, it becomes something you too can do. And so I think both teachers need to experience it as well as students, and we need mediated ways of being able to do it in the classroom. And then of course the larger political thing to be, in order to tell our own stories. I remember the first day we came here, Anjali mentioned when they were introducing the archives, that one of the reasons we have fewer collections from women scientists is because they always felt it wasn't worthy enough, the material, that they didn't have worthy enough material to keep. And so I think the same goes for all of our children as well, that our stories are worthy to tell. And so to experience that archives, we need to archive in order to tell our own stories, so that our stories are not erased, invisibilized, or relegated to the margins. And of course, as what are the other goals that I think teachers can work with while working with archival objects is observation, critical thinking, how do we infer, what is the difference between speculating and making a claim which is substantiated by evidence? How do we substantiate? How do we identify when something is not being substantiated? So I've tried to design some sample questions in order to build some of these skills. So I've also put in a set of resources which I won't go into now, but they are beautiful resources, and if teachers can add to this, it will be very nice, because these are some lovely chapters on how to develop historical thinking. So they work with some inscriptions in a small town near Jhansi called Siodoni, then one that looks at like various textual records to speak about how historians know about the past, and I think the Deepa Dhanraj one everybody here knows, the young historians documentary that is there. Please add to it, it would be very good. Now, one of the activities that could be done perhaps as a starter before was this some friends had done, which takes a random collection of objects in a bag. It could be anything, a wallet, a comb, a photograph, a notebook, and start working with children as to what can we say about the person through this bag. Does this belong to? How old are they? Where do you think they live? What do you think they do? And then start conversations of speculation versus actually making something based on evidence, right? And also how historians don't make definitive statements. This happened in 1793. No, it's actually, history is a lot of suggestions. So to be suggestive rather than definitive, to bring up these conversations in class, this could be one enabling activity. Now, I've also listed some objectives of this, but I think I've covered this. But broadly, these are the 4 areas I hope that some of these questions address, which is engaging with the archival object itself and the process of archiving and what that tells us, doing history, thinking historically, what that actually means, how do you piece together clues, how do we understand the past to understand our present, how do we interpret, how do we make arguments and claims, how do we challenge arguments, and how can we also engage with creative writing. These are some of the possibilities that archival objects offer us. So this is the what I've put together from this. So these are the introductions. But see, for example, if we look at the object itself that I've chosen, the women workers, the first introducing the archival object itself, I imagine would span 3 to 4 classes, where we look at the initial pages, we discuss where do you think it's taken from, shall we take, without introducing actually where it's taken from. First we speculate. From speculation, how do we get into finer grained kind of things. So later when we sit, we tell them, so I've designed it like an activity, like when you have, you start with a whole group discussion with a lot of broad questions, then work in smaller groups, and then we tell them that all the material you have is part of a single document. So where do you think, so identifying, like going through it long enough to see, to be able to tell, okay, it's all newspaper clippings from 98. Okay, it's all from Maharashtra, perhaps. It's mostly related to women. To be able to perhaps identify some of these things before actually introducing the object itself. I'm assuming that most of you are familiar with it, but just to give you a sense, this is what it is. A compilation of English and regional language press clippings, 3 months, 1998, only in Maharashtra. So there's all kinds of articles. There's a 3-4 page introduction, and then there's different 47 clippings that are there in this related to women's work. Some of which we'll get. Maybe you can go through this later. I don't think I have time to go through the object itself. So I'll just look at some of this. So, some of the sample questions that I thought of for just the beginning is that what could the document be, what could it be about, who do you think it is put together and why, when do you think this document was put together, can you identify a common theme, all of that, and then we actually give it to them and then use the first few pages to say how would you answer the questions now, how are they different from what you discussed earlier, and what have you learned by looking at that. Then one level of engagement would be that whatever claim we are making, how do we put it on a scale of certainty? Things that we cannot say with any measure of certainty. We can say probably, but not certainly, most likely, and of course the negative of each of these, and certainly or certainly not, and something that we know for sure. So that being our scale of varied levels of certainty, to introduce that kind of vocabulary in the classroom, so that whenever we are making a claim, we can place it on the scale of certainty. So this can be something that, for teachers themselves, or from the beginning when we work with teachers, where we put down some, who did the labor of cutting the newspaper articles? Is that something you can say with certainty or uncertainty, or you do not know at all? Where would you put it? There are other volumes to this report. Now, why I have chosen these things, of course, I have studied the document a bit, and it says in one small part, volume 4 or something like that. So we, as teachers, have to look for those and design things like this. So it's based on that. So domestic workers were organizing and fighting for their rights in 1998. But we can say with fair certainty, because we are seeing the news clip. So we work with children to put this on a scale of certainty. And then this is a worksheet that I designed only based on the first 3 pages of the text. Why? Because this is working with what the archival object is about, not within the kind of thing. So what is the source, when was it produced, where was it produced, who produced it, why do you think it was produced, do you think it is important to have collected it? Then from the first 3 pages tell about the geographical location, who commissioned it, what criteria do you think they chose for it, who do you think sat and cut them out. So you're actually living in that reality first for a while before you get into anything else, which is you have to imagine producing that archival object before you do anything else, right? And then of course we make claims based on all of these things. Then actually using the archival object, right? So broad questions to discuss whole class. What does this tell us about women's work in India? Very importantly, what does it not tell us What else do we need to look? Where will you find this information? So also kind of creating this thing where we know that archives are not full repositories of truth, they never will be. So both the possibilities and the limits of archive, drawing those there. And then relating it to say, are there recurrent themes? When you think of your mother's lives, what aspects of their working lives are actually in the media, are they not? All of these kind of things. And then there are some questions I have identified with the help of some other resources also shared, that these will be common to any archival object even within that collection, within that object that we choose. To write a short note describing its contents. What is the source? Is it public, private, relative, letter, diary, newspaper, whatever? When and where was this source produced? At the time of the event? After? When? Where? Do you know what else is happening in this time geographically and politically and economically? Who produced this source? Do they have biases? Who is writing it and what is their relationship to the person or thing or event they are writing about? Why was this source produced? Was it for communication? Was it to challenge something? Was it to convince or persuade someone? Was it to influence? Was it to protect? To think about these things when we're doing that. And how was this source produced? What are the methods? What was the labor involved? Was it through interviews? Was it through, right? It could be whatever it could be, right? But these are questions common to all that can be used recurrently for any kind of archival object. Now these are some examples, I won't go through all, but I've taken like one for example is a photographic newspaper clipping. It's titled Right to See, I don't think you can see it very well, but there is this Dharna Pradarshan of fisher women, and it's written there saying members of fishing community on a morsha from Girgaon Chowpatty to Mantralay to protest the birthing of Vikrant at Radio Club on Tuesday. Now there are questions that will be categorized into just understanding the source and comprehension. What city is this photograph taken in? Find the city on a map. Where in the city is this scene from? What are the women in the photograph doing? Why? What do you think led to them doing this? Is there a fishing community in your village or city? Have you seen them do something similar? What is birthing? What do you think the Vikrant refers to? The name of a company, the name of a person, the name of a ship, or a government policy. So these kind of questions, some as to think through together, some as a worksheet, multiple choice, all of these kind of things. And then to also to say some things of true and false. The reason why I usually veer away from these kind of things, but I think that this kind of structured questioning can help children actually think about the archive as well. So 2-3 structures that I thought I'd identify was this kind of true or false, multiple things, and the other is, and I think it will be a good exercise for teachers to engage in, use one particular source and have completely widely different interpretations of it, and then ask children to argue which one they support and why, because that happens in fact, right? Hadia's presentation today I think highlighted that the best, that we can use the same source in history to tell very different histories. And so for teachers themselves, for an exercise for them for us to do that, like to try, and I tried it and it was difficult. So I mean, I was thinking about it, I'll show it to you in the next example, and I found it tough. Then I realized I had to go back and read up quite a bit. So what can you say of these true-false statements? The fishing community was happy with the government's policies. In Maharashtra, there were few or no men fishers in '98. All these fishers are from Mumbai. How do we work through truth of such statements, right? This one I found it tough. So this is the banks told to start microcredit to promote SHGs. Then this is important for us because levels of indebtedness are really rising, and they are all through SHGs and microcredit and their evolutionary forms in the fintech company era. So how do we understand the history of credit? The larger project for this, to choose this, is for us to be able to actually in Girgaon with my students do a project on both debt and archiving our own stories. That is the larger project. I'll come to that in the long term. But let me give you an example. So there's different kinds of questions here. This is more, I would say this is a slightly less archival kind of questioning and more political questioning. And I would say this one is designed, and I've made a note, more for like 9th and above who've already been introduced to economics. So things like, what is microcredit? Write a paragraph about it. What is the RBI? What is the NABARD? What are the different types of banks referred to? So to actually get into the nuances of debt. Self-help groups in our basti are called samoos. What different kind of samoos are there in your area? Do you know anyone who's part of one? What has their experience been? Can you design an interview for them? And then this was, I found a bit tough. So consider these two arguments made based on this. The RBI is very concerned about the poor and eradicating poverty, and that's why it has directed commercial banks to enter into microcredit. Or the RBI is guided by the need to have money circulated in the economy, or the RBI has not thought about the long-term effects on such schemes and creating indebtedness among the poor. So I mean, as a teacher, I will have to read up about the history of credit to do this. But we also do have a resource on this because as part of Politically Math, we had done I think someone here was working with her, no? Kalpana from IIT, Karnakaran. So yeah, so she had done a small credit course for us. So we have some good material on the history of credit and history of self-help groups that we will use perhaps further this. This is a different thing. It's just a narrative in the life of a woman, Sita Bai, who's a vegetable vendor who's faced great hardship, and it's titled Ordinary People. So this to use more as to whose stories get told in the media and not. So questions based on that also, and projects to actually do such interviews and perhaps in our context. So the short-term projects thought of was to engage more with the archive itself, because there's lots of possibility within this one object. There are a lot of BD worker articles, there's a lot of domestic workers and domestic worker union articles. So to either you choose one, say why you've chosen it, and then explore that and what can you observe, infer, why do you want to work with it, what are the questions, like how you all did that project. Or you choose a theme and what are the collections that you can identify within this. And lastly, to write a fiction based on maybe one of these of a woman worker in 98. What are the things you would draw upon from this resource to do that? Like what were the things you need to be faithful about and you can be creative about, right? And then the longer term project, like I mentioned, would be to, few of them are there, but one is to document women's work in and around us in the Vasi and Birgaon through all of this and debt. And can we also do something similar with the children, like to propose to them, whether 3 months shall we also look at, divide into groups, look at regional and English language newspapers and look at what women workers, how are they being covered now and what will we find, what is the difference in the nature of the articles, the frequency, all of that, right? And so how do you choose a criteria? So that is an exercise in archiving itself perhaps, right? And so how do we do that? How devising criteria for that and things like that. Okay. Now this was one object, 2 minutes. Okay. The second object I won't go through, but I thought the other way around to work with the Leslie Coleman collection, but to work backward, not to introduce the archive, but there is this 4-minute live sketch of him on YouTube. And so to use that, give that to the students and then ask them, what did you learn about Leslie Coleman from this? What do you find interesting? And what material do you think people used to produce something like this? Where would you find it? And then list that, have a whole discussion, then tell them about the NCBS Coleman papers. And then they go through that and they actually, like there's some detailed exercises on what to do and worksheets of matching the archival material to that source truth and things like that. And there's an old article also on his life that I've chosen, which is was appeared in a different magazine, where you know and in the end of this video also they're saying he promised to return in when he was 85. How do you know they promised? What is the exact thing? And one more letter that I had found from Leslie Coleman to his folks at home, and a description, a document he had written on a South Indian village, where he's actually talking about how the very geographical structure of village is always along the lines of caste, and then there is a rejoinder from some upper caste people from the village who are not very happy with it. So I've also given a question where Leslie Coleman is obviously revered, because you have archival material saying he's a state guest and all, but did Indians also have problem with him? Who had and why? So find the archival material that tells you that. So looking for evidence through, so this basically you're sending them on a hunt, which is very different from the first. So two different type of. Yes, so I'll end with this. I just wanted to share, I made some reflection questions for teachers and some ideas for further things. One of the things I would have liked to have worked with was what you gave us in the questionnaire, the moon thing, because I really think the moon observations, we can do a really nice trajectory with that. I've not done it, but I think first moon observations, readiness, all of that, and then come to this, and also think what all would he have known to have written this kind of document. And the other more long-term for older students would be wildlife conservation and casteist policing, to use the archive to actually design something for law students. I feel that to be important. And I've taken a quote here from the wildlife policing research document from Madhya Pradesh that CPA had released, where the report attempts to shine light on the opaque mechanisms through which the forest department exercises control over forests and to illustrate the casteist nature of policing that has pervaded the region under the guise of environmental and conservation. So put this in conversation with the other things on environmentalism and conservation that is there in order to create a critical, perhaps, course to go through the archive or a project for older students to look at the history of environmentalism and wildlife conservation. For teachers, can we design activities for teachers to design activities? I have listed some of that at the end of the document. What can we do perhaps, like for example with this module itself, take it and categorize the questions into comprehension questions, archive knowing questions, creative questions, claim making questions and things like that, right? These kind of, because I think as teachers we need to think about an archive even more and we need to have an introduction to that as well. And I think the NCBS is particularly unique because it has the archive here, because it has a taste of how social science and science are done. And I think that offers a lot of possibilities, how to critically read science, which I think nobody could have done better than the three of you all today. So I think that we could we perhaps have an introductory course on the archives as part of this fellowship for teachers? Could we perhaps design something that is stretched over distance and physical? Because I think to crab walk the archive itself, time is crucial. And so as we were discussing, if we can maybe have a month as a lead up to the physical sessions and we work, say with teachers, you all made beautiful introductions. To do an introduction and then meet weekly so that by the time we come here, we have chosen what collection we want to, but have had time to crab walk and explore and things like that. So these are some of the suggestions and perhaps that we had. If there's any questions or